Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to pre-order upcoming Force of Will sets, ccgprime.com for singles and supplies, cardodoko.com for those rulers in the international market looking for product, the Ruler School Circuit Series now taking orders on our Q3 2024 circuit kits, and our guest lecturer members, Fight Ramen. Class is in session.
Hey there guys, welcome back to another deck profile with yours truly, Paul Reisman. Today we are taking a look at the worst Christmas tree ever, Yggsei as one. This is what happens when leaves of the Malefic Tree Yggdrasil get spread around and picked up by some elvish dudes who then use its dark powers to turn into whatever this monstrosity is. Again, the worst Christmas tree ever. So what you're going to be doing with this deck is you are going to be searching for leaves of the Malefic Tree and putting them into the field. This ruler will be preventing damage based on the number of different leaves you have. You can also pay black to grab one of these from a different area from, like for instance, I'm using outside the game, but you can also search your deck. I just wanted 4 more deck slots because you can put a lot of different cards in here. Green is a very powerful color, so having access to more of green's colors is very good. And so Leaf of the Malefic Tree is here to sort of not only fill up the side deck and free up the deck, but it's here to prevent damage, and then when you eventually flip, those leaves come back into play. Your God's Art requires, you need 4 in order to Judgment, first of all, but then your God's Art says for every card you have Leaf of the Malefic Tree in every public zone you have, you do Y times the effect. So in every public zone, each leaf is 400 life drain, plus 1 banishment for each opponent per leaf that you're using. So if you have 4 because you perform Judgment, you're draining 1600, and your opponents, and I'm saying opponents because ABC is a deck format, you can run this card in. You are going to be getting rid of 4 of their non-Magic Stone, non-J rulers, which is pretty hefty, pretty good. The drain is really, really solid, by the way. I actually won a game off Jeremy just playing Yggsei's God's Art ability, which was really relevant, and then just banishing their field is really powerful as well. And so I really like the ruler. It has overgrowth, which is really helpful. It gets a few more stats when it's destroyed, which is not really the goal of this deck. We're not trying to like hyper turbo blow up Yggsei all the time, because frankly I just did not find myself in the environment doing that all too much. You just get benefits if he dies, which is really helpful. You can heal him and bring him back in, which is really helpful. But for the most part, I just flip Yggsei once. Otherwise, I'm using the main board as one of my main sources of damage dealing and trying to win the game. First of all, turn 1 is going to be playing Rejones. Getting that inheritance ability to find another Rejones from the deck is really helpful. It has the overgrowth ability, so you can play it late game and benefit Yggsei in that way, or you can just make your other Rejones larger. Either way, with one of these copies in the graveyard, you are going to be paying 1 less to play this card on turn 2, which is really helpful. Because we're solo mode, we can double the number of +1/+1 counters on this card, which is really helpful. Plus, you can use every copy of these to call an additional Magic Stone. Very powerful ramp tool in general that we have for this game right now. Just a 5/6 that is able to get you extra stones by calling you extra stones. It's very powerful. And because it has barrier, it's kind of sticky and hard to get rid of. We are playing for Kriya. Kriya is really good in here too. She's got that overgrowth barrier, non-fire stuff as well, is really helpful. You can play this card as a chant, not really relevant for this deck, but non-fire resonators you control gain overgrowth in all zones, which means anything that is not fire in your hand suddenly can proc your overgrowth effects. So things like Priscia, Seeker of Hope, is really, really great because she not only has overgrowth, she will come into the field, proc an effect, and then she'll grab something else from the deck, like a Guardian Dragon of the Kingdom, just to kind of keep your plays going. We're playing with a lot of will, so we might as well be using a card like this as a will sink to just grab anything we need from the deck. Kriya is really great for that because she can find your Priscia. She can also find another copy of herself, or Nichte as well. Nichte is probably one of the best control answers we've got in the game right now that we do not have Electra. So this is a 14/14 with Belligerence and that barrier. It's got the Abdul effect where your opponent's enter effects do not trigger coming into the field, which is really great. And when it enters and whenever you attack with this card, you can animate one of your stones to become a 10/10 eternal resonator until the end of the game. That is not till the end of the turn, like Gru's Ballesta's Awakening. This is for the game. And they're still magic stones, so they can still do a whole bunch of things. This is one of the reasons why I think ramping in this version is really, really powerful. Because even if he's on the field, if you get Resonance Wind Magic Stone, you can just make a Wood Folk, destroy up to one target J Resonator your opponent controls with cost 2 or less. And if you destroy something that is a J Resonator, well, you just produce additional mana, which is really, really helpful. So Nichte in this deck is one of the major win conditions and is really, really powerful. Of course, you are just ramping in general, so you can just hard cast a Girion. I've done it before. It's hilarious. And it's got swiftness, and it's going to attack, and your opponent's going to cry. So Girion legitimately is another win condition in this deck in a very classic Force of Will ramp to big boy kind of way. So that's really great as well. We're playing a lot of additions, so we get to play Feasting 100 Years of Wizardry once again. This card is very strong for that particular reason. Comes in and just cancels all kinds of abilities. You don't really need Laureate in the deck because of this, and because you are reliably getting additions, you don't really need to worry about much else. You can recycle it with Swords of Progress. You can also cancel with it and draw additional cards. Card's really good for that particular reason, as you all know. Guardian Dragon's really good in combination with Prisya. Prisya is going to be dealing you a lot of additional benefits in this deck as well. Making Guardian Dragons, Nichtes, just kind of whenever you're ready. It's kind of the control strat in general, and Prisya is really good for that, especially with all those extra magic stones we get to play with. We get extra magic stones, so we're just going to blow up the field. Hello, 2020. Destroy all your resonators your opponent controls with less attack than this card, and they will have less attack than you. So that's just kind of the way it is. Playing a couple of Persephones. In the event that you do want to pop your own Yggsei, this is an option. You will just benefit from that by getting, now you have 9 bodies on board, Persephone and the 8 tokens, plus you have an additional card that you got to draw, which is really kind of nice. So Persephone's in here, just a couple of copies, not too much more than that. Of course, we're playing 3 copies of Girion as well. Can come out with a Prisya if you really need it to. Otherwise, it's going to be here to just negate things until you get into the late game. And then we're playing Dark Alice Rabbit Princess. And why are we playing Dark Alice? I have to say, this card I think is going to be really good, especially if we start seeing a lot of Viola going into future GP seasons. Viola, strangely potent. Did not think she was going to be as good as she is. Dark Alice can really make that matchup swing in your favor by just sacking their additions so you can get more cards. Seems pretty good to me. Dark Alice is always going to be good, so as long as she's in the format, I'm always going to consider her. Definitely for this deck, though, as you saw in the match with Jeremy, Dark Alice would have gone a long way if she were in the deck. So we made a couple of changes afterward, and this is one of them. The other one would be Prisya, and then some Magic Stone Golems just to kind of mess with the opponent's board state a little bit. This deck really didn't do much board control outside of this card, and so he's really useful for that. And as a result of all of this, we kind of changed up the stone base a little bit, including 1 Moonshade. Moonshade here I think is probably fine at 1 copy, mostly because I don't think we're going to be seeing Star Scale as reliably anymore after the mulligan changes, and so I think this card is probably safe. I'm kind of testing the waters with this to see how it goes, but it does kind of round things out so that Magic Stone Golem feels pretty solid to play. In the side deck, we have your Rogue Shivas, right? So Shiva in this deck is actually a little bit more important because if you do Girion, you can just tuck it away to make Shiva a little bit more easily. Plus, you get your Girion back, so you can bring it out with Prisya later or just hard draw and cast later. So Shiva has an extra little utility in this deck, but for the most part, this is the version I'd be playing now. That I've had a lot of experience with the deck and playing it. It's a very fun deck if you're someone out there who just wants something a little bit different, wants that classic green-black control, but doesn't want something too cracked to just take to locals and have fun with. This is a very, very good deck for that. Plus, you get to play with this really handy throne, which does a lot of really cool effects. Pause if you want to read them, but man, this card does so many things for the deck. It's a Johnny's dream to play this card. Other than that, guys, this has been Paul. See you in the next Zack profile, and Happy New Year.